Welcome to DigitalK.
My name is Joachim Fuchs. I'm part of the solution engineer team of Atlassian, and we are working all over the world with customers and partners. And so therefore, teamwork in an enterprise is one of the key things that we also would like to use in our company itself. So what I would like to present you now is more or less what we see at our company, Atlassian, what we live there, and we might also give you some inspiration and ideas about that one. We believe that every great human achievement, there will be a team behind that one. And so our real mission on that one is really to unleash the potential of every team. And that means the team at a partner, the team at a customer, as well the teams in our company itself. And so what we are doing here, we try to use it internally and externally, and hopefully there are some best practices that could be used. The title was a little bit also about the past, and if we remember somewhere in the 700s, there was a first industrial revolution. That means there were some steam machines out there, and having all that kind of industrial revolution mean there is really a big impact on what's happening before. And about 120 years later, there was the next revolution coming with the first electric and also the first assembly lines. That also means big impact on the enterprises, big impact on the people. Having an assembly line means I also maybe have some teams to assemble, for example, cars, something like that one. And then there was the last industrial revolution somewhere in the 1970s, where we have the first kind of computers, the first kind of robots, and really the starting of mass productions. And this is also something that was key on that level. And between all of these three revolutions, more or less, there are about 100 and some years. But now, over the time, it's becoming faster and faster. So the next revolution was more or less today or starting the last 20 years. If we remember, we all now have smartphones, we now have laptops we are carrying on with us. And so this is really something that is approaching us quite fast. And the question is how to handle that over the time and how to keep the pace that we have here, for example. And here you can see everything that is approaching you. Maybe if you are a startup, if you are a legacy company working for many years in the market, you also have to see there will be something different. For example, talking about AlwaysOn. So some years before, we are using a machine and then, for example, we stop it, the next day it's the same as well. Now we are having all smartphones, they are all 24/7 running. We are all engaged with emails, with tasks, everything else on that one. And also the customer expectations are really growing. That means, I don't know, if I remember back 10 years ago, customers are happy if they will have one major release a year. Now, more or less, every customer is approaching companies to say, I would like to have a new feature more or less, I don't know, each month. Because if you can't have that speed, maybe it could look like for a customer, there's nothing going on. Maybe I will approach another company, maybe a little bit more agile on that level. Also, what's quite new for some of the companies really is we have distributed teams. So not even the people are sitting in the same office or in the same city. Now we are more or less following with some of the companies, following the sun. That means, I don't know, there are some people in the US, some people in Europe, some people in Asia, or in Australia, something like that one. And this is also a challenge that needs to be adapted, and there needs to be some solutions out there to help on that one. What's also quite interesting for us here is partnerships. So often there are partnerships, there are kind of a contract. I will give you something here, you will give me something from your side. But for example, we have a great partnership with Amazon Web Services. We try to push the cloud stuff from both sides. So it's not really we are using their machines just to have our systems running on that one. We also will be pushed from AWS also to be a counterpart and helping to make this more or less really seen in the market. And so this kind of partnerships are really necessary and helpful on that one as well. And what's also more or less quite new for all of us is the war of talent. So there are, we'll say, too less people that are needed to really catch up all the speed. And the question is how to be a good employer for maybe new students coming from the university, because they don't want really to be part of hierarchical stuff. They really would like to be part of really cool teams. They would like to do something based on values and not just be here to say, okay, I will be here, I don't know, from 8 to 5 in the evening. There will be some people giving me some task and I will handle the task. I really would like to have an impact. What I will do, there should be an impact for my customers, there should be an impact for me and for my company as well. And these are really key points. There needs to be an answer, and we also will be faced by that kind of stuff, and so we try to see, and this is really something cool from our two founders. Atlassian was founded 2002, and these two guys in Down Under decide to really have a company to build a very interesting software to handle all the tasks and handle all the projects, but also would like to find an ecosystem where they see we would like to work in that company. We don't want to have that kind of stuff here. We would like to wear hoodies, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. And so it's also something that they are really happy with, that kind of founders, to have that experience from them. And also the idea is to do everything more or less based on some values. And so for us, absolutely key is, if you would like to have great teamwork, you need to have the right people. And the right people not even mean from a skill set, it means from a cultural aspect as well maybe sharing the same values, really to find these people as well. On a certain level, we need some kind of real cool and right products to do that. Even we can offer it to you, or maybe you will use some of the other tools. And the next point is really we need to have some practices. And practices is the way how we work together, how we, for example, handle some blockers that are here, and if we are basing on a framework, something like this one. And so the next minutes I really would like to focus a little bit what is the right approach for people and also the right approach for practices, how we handle that at Atlassian and what we will bring out there to the market, because as I said, we would like to have a special approach here. And so that means at the end there will be a shift between efficiency and effectiveness. So efficiency means we would like to have a higher output, for example, with less resources, with less money. And there really will be some businesses that are really keen to be on the efficiency side. But if you really would like to have an impact for your company and for your customers, you should be on the effectiveness side, because effectiveness means how to use the resources best to create the best value, and not to say, okay, at the end of the week I really was quite busy. Because the question is from now on, what was the impact that we have done with the new release for customers? What was the impact for the team itself, really to create all the necessary steps to do that one? So this is really a kind of a shift from efficiency to effectiveness. And this is also something that, for example, the leadership has to recognize, and also some of the infrastructure in the company also needs to be shifted to be more effective instead of more efficient. And these are really the cool two things that we are working on. On the left side, we have the values. So everything that we are doing, that we are creating, is more or less based on the values. But on the other side, we also have so-called OKRs. I'll come to that later. That means how to measure if we really get to what we would like to be in 3 months. What is the objective that we would like to do? And so these are really the two sides that we are facing in our company. And here you will see the Atlassian values. This is more or less the thing that is guiding us, what we create, why we create, and for example, also to hire people. So there's definitely part of an interview asking what are the skill set of a new employee, but there's really a kind of a value interview. So that means people will be asked, are you familiar with that kind of values? Would you like to join a company having that kind of values? Or maybe you have some values that are really corresponding to that one. So we don't want to look for people to have the same culture. We would like to have diversity. And diversity really means, for example, where the people are coming from. So there are, I don't know, more than 40 nationalities working at Atlassian. And on the other side, it's really the values. And more or less everyone is asked, what is your favorite value? For example, one of the main things that I really like is don't oops the customer. Because, for example, if a solution is not really the purpose and the fit for the customer at the moment, we are not really pushing someone to sell something that has no value for him. And therefore, this is something new. Play as a team. This is also something very familiar also for other companies as well. Open company, no bullshit. So if you would like to say something, do it. And don't do it behind closed doors, something like that one. And this is really the base where we are acting internally and also where we are acting externally with customers and partners as well. Now coming to how we measure our success. And here we are using this OKR model. That means there seems to be an objective. For example, I would like to have now the United States as a market. And the question is, what are the key results to really see if we are handling that objective? And one key result could be that in 3 months we would like to open 5 offices in the US. Another area could be, for example, that we would like to engage with 50 customers out of the top 100 in the US. And this is something that you really can measure. And the good thing is with an OKR or an objective, it's not something that will live for years. It will live for a special purpose, maybe for the next 3 months. And then we will see if we're handling the key results. And the key results itself is something where we can see if we are handling 70 to 80% of that one, we are good in shape. If we are handling a key result to 100% or more, then the result was not really ambitious enough. And on the other side, a key result should be something that really should be reachable and should be tangible for all the people handling that one. But on a certain level, sometimes it's also good to be a little bit pushy and try to do something that seems to be not reachable. But at the end, it's a little bit the pushing factor for teams on that level as well. So for example, here, this is something that we are using internally. So you should think, for example, of a business unit of a maximum of 3 objectives, for example, for the next 3 months. And for each of the key results, having not more than 3 or 4 of key results, because otherwise you will be overwhelmed what needs to be done and you are not really focused on that one. Because working in teams, working agile really means to be focused. To be focused for a certain amount of time, and after that time there is a time for a retrospective, to see what we have done, to see what we have reached so far, what we can do better, maybe what we have to change over the time. And this is really a cool model to make also people working in teams, working for a part of an organization, to really make them accountable. Because if you have an objective, you know what is the vision, what is the initiative of the company, what is the mission of the company. And by having this information, it's easier to follow and see what the key result really will bring and really will be the impact for that one as well. We as Atlassian don't want to be just an enterprise. We would like to be a social enterprise. What does that mean? We have founded, it's curious, we have created a foundation, founded a foundation, sounds a little bit weird. And the idea is of that one, we would like to make the world a little bit better. For example, that means Atlassian gives me 5 days a year that I can help, for example, social institutions with my power with this days, for example. We are offering our solution for non-profit organizations to help them to do their work as well. And we are part of a so-called 1% pledge society. That means Atlassian will give or contribute 1% of the annual profit, 1% of the employee time, and 1% of the equity to that foundation. So this then could be used for special purposes, helping social institutions all over the world, making the world a little bit better. And I think this is really a great idea, having the success and giving back some of the success to other areas and be really a social company. But by doing all that kind of stuff, there will be some blockers. The question is how to overcome that blockers. And for doing that one, so we are facing more or less 3 areas where will be the most blockers. One is on the planning side, how to plan with distributed teams, how to plan and prioritize the features that will be the next rollout, something like that one. In the decision-making area, for example, often the decision leaders are the bottleneck. And the question is how to handle that one. And also to handle the shared understanding question. That means, for example, giving the people the vision and our initiative to have a better understanding why we are here and what we are doing so far. And to do that, we have more or less created a kind of a team playbook. And this team playbook is more or less done by teams facing some of the problems. They build out some kind of a playbook. And we are first using this internally, and now we will share it externally. I will come to that later. And one of the key things with this playbook, we are offering some kind of a health check. So you always have a chance to do constantly a kind of a health check just to see if you are improving. And you will see here we are 3 areas for the health check. One is a project. Project often means that it is an area where we have a backlog that needs to be handled. Leadership thing is what the leadership will do, where will be some failure modes on that level. And the service side, for example, is something that will help you with the services teams. And it's a little bit like a project team, but often services teams have queues. And the question is how to help them to handle their queues best, for example. And just using one of this one, using the leadership one, so often the decision making, for example, is an area where people and companies see some issues or problems. And for example, we are offering a decision making framework. We call it DAISY. That means who is the driver for a decision, who is the approver for a decision, who is contributing for that one, and who will be informed about that one. And by using that kind of framework, this helps you to guide through the process. On a certain level, we have some kind of trade-off sliders. That means, for example, on a certain level, you always have this, I will say, counterparts. On one level, you would like to be fast, or on the other side, you would like to be, I don't know, as cheap as possible to use the less resources that might be possible. And by using the trade-off sliders, you can see, okay, if you now would like to go faster, then we have to invest a little bit more. But if you discuss about that one, then you really can find a discussion on an ending point for that one. And so the last part is also talking about roles and responsibilities. That means I always have the same title, but in different projects I have different roles and responsibilities. And so it's also a good way to think about that one and also to play around with that one. And besides that 3 health monitors that we are offering, we have about around 50 plays for different areas, for different team scenarios. And if you are going to Atlassian teamplaybook.com, you really can leverage that information. You can use that for your teams, and it's really free. There's no special thing needed, and this is really something that we can recommend on that one. So thinking what will be next, the next 20 years, I think it will be a journey somewhere in space. We can predict maybe something that will happen, and maybe just find some ways to help that prediction. But to be honest, this is not the way going forward. So we should find something to be flexible. That means a little bit shift what we are doing mostly today, for example, like hierarchical business functions, moving over to more flexible squads, teams, and shared services. And for example, teams formed slowly over the time is what's happening often now. And teams assembly and stop quickly, that will be in the future. There will be a project, there will be a project team. They will start quickly, and if they are finished, they will stop quickly. So this is really quite a new approach to do that. And this is more or less the ask for you. If you will see something in the future, be accountable for that one, try to find some peers to help on that one, and really be the key to unleashing the power what you would like to do with your company. This is really something that we would like to give you as a kind of an ask.